New South Wales Parliament will debate a proposed law that would give greater legal protection to unborn children. But opponents say if Zoe's law goes ahead, it could wind back a woman's right to choose. And a quick warning that some images in the following story may be upsetting.
On Christmas Day in 2009, Brodie and Nick Donegan were within 6 weeks of welcoming a second daughter into their family. But just metres from their home, tragedy struck.
One of our neighbours came racing up and said Brodie's been hit by a car, and I just sort of bolted out the door to find her basically at the bottom of our driveway.
A driver who was high on prescription drugs had struck Brodie. She became trapped under the van, suffering horrific injuries. Her unborn baby's life hung in the balance.
I remember saying to Nick that we had to call her Zoe because that meant life, and if she survived, then she had to be called that.
After an emergency caesarean, Brodie's baby girl was delivered stillborn. The Donegans' grief was made worse when they were told by police that the driver would receive only a light reprimand.
He just said, be prepared, it's just probably going to be a fine and a good behaviour bond. We couldn't really reconcile that with everything we'd been through.
Under New South Wales law, Zoe didn't have any legal status because she hadn't yet taken a breath. During the court case against the driver, Zoe's death was considered to be only an injury to Brodie.
I just couldn't understand why we had a funeral, why we received a stillbirth certificate, we received a bereavement payment from Centrelink. We had all these things recognising the separate existence of our baby, but at the same time, when it came down to charging the person that caused the loss of our baby, it didn't really seem to matter.
In 2011, a judge sentenced the driver to 9 months jail for dangerous driving causing grievous bodily harm. Since then, Brodie's been fighting for better protection for late-stage pregnancies. Under the proposed Zoe's law, a person who injures or kills a fetus of at least 20 weeks gestation could be charged with grievous bodily harm to the fetus itself. But if it's passed, the law would treat fetuses as living people for the first time under New South Wales law. Women's groups fear it could be used as a stepping stone towards restricting abortion.
If we enact this law, then there is the concern that you have competing rights. The rights of the fetus versus the rights of the woman.
The Donegans are pro-choice and say they'd never support a law that made abortion access harder. Brodie's local member, Chris Spence, says the bill has been written very specifically to protect women's choices.
We are not going to see a situation where a woman who decides to terminate her pregnancy for any reasons or by any means is going to be punishable by this bill.
But if fetuses are treated as people, legal experts say it will be hard to stop future changes to abortion law.
They will rely on that principle and say, how can the criminal law of abortion permit a woman to choose to terminate or kill a person?
Brodie and Nick say they never wanted to become part of the abortion debate, and they just want the law to recognise the loss of their child.
We're both pro-choice. We're both not wanting to harm any rights. We're just wanting to add to some rights.
It's just, I guess, hard for us that everyone sort of jumps on the bandwagon and says, oh, it's anti-abortion, it's taking women's rights away. It's got nothing to do with that.
This is just an incredible story, and I think that the Donegans are so brave. You know, there's a post on Mamamia today written by Brodie where she really details exactly how it won't affect women's right to choose. And I'm absolutely pro-choice as well. I 100% back Zoe's law. While I'm not a lawyer, she really explains very clearly how it can't be used to charge medical professionals. It can't be used to charge women. It's very, very specific about babies of a certain age when a mother is pregnant that are deliberately or inadvertently in dangerous circumstances like this one killed. And I think to not recognise that is just does such a disservice to every woman who's lost a baby and every man.
The complication is that the way the law works, and it is dispassionate and it's a very complicated and well-established system of rules and logic, that whilst it might not make a doctor that performs a procedure like that a criminal, it might not make the mother a criminal, it does change the legal status of a fetus. And that does change how the law operates in that situation. and the legal experts that express that are also correct. It is just a very complicated situation. And the Australian Medical Association today has written to MPs in New South Wales ahead of tomorrow's debate saying that they actually don't support Zoe's law. It'd be interesting to see what happens tomorrow.
Time for some